Are women overseas more submissive than Black American women? Hey, Jason here. If you've been watching the channel, you've been seeing me doing videos talking about this subject. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions on it, and a lot of people are upset, but probably because they haven't worked through their trauma. However, I'm going to continue talking about this, and I'm going to continue giving it from the perspective of a person who was married for 10 years, who had a successful marriage, who had a happy marriage, and who was someone that lived out their marriage until my wife passed away in my arms. And the key words there is successful and happy marriage. Just getting married does not mean successful, and it does not mean happy. There are plenty of people, whether you're seeing celebrities on TV or you're seeing people in your personal life, that are in a marriage and they hate each other. They're miserable and they're hating every single day of their marriage. And if you don't believe it, go back to some of those memories from 2022 when the pandemic happened. All of those people that was tired of their significant others. While me and my wife at that time, during 2020, I'm sorry, during that time, we had one of the most amazing times of our life, spending time locked up together and really growing and developing our relationship. And so let's go ahead and get into today's subject. It comes from comments coming through. I've been having some good comments. I've had a lot of stupid comments. I had a lot of comments of just trolls. Some people just don't know how to show up in the world as anything other than trolling. And maybe one day they'll work it out, or maybe when they come back in another life. However, this one thing keep coming up. People are like, well, I'm gonna go talk to other women. What does that mean, other women? Your race, your ethnicity, your religion, where you're born does not make you a submissive woman. Everybody have their own individual attitude. Some cultures may be more conservative than others. Now, a lot of cultures are more conservative than the United States. Now, that's one thing I can tell you that. And as someone who's living in Africa, I'm going to tell you right now, every woman here is not some submissive woman that's just going to be cooking and cleaning for you. There's women out here working hard. There's women out here with goals, ambitions. They're driven. Like this whole weird thinking of especially Black American men who usually never left the United States. They're just hearing this craziness of stuff from people on the internet that are giving you a very narrow perspective of a country they don't really know about. They probably spent maybe a couple of months in there, or they've been going back and forth to one location. It doesn't mean they know that area or know that region. I can tell you for me, I spent 3.5 years in Panama, 3.5 years in Medellin, Colombia. I don't know all of Panama. I don't know all of Colombia. I can give you a little bit of the knowledge that I have from there, but that doesn't mean I know every single person that's in that country, exactly how that country works. That's not how life is. Even if you're in the United States, odds are you have not been to every 50 states. You have not probably spent more than 2 to 3 years consistently in every single 50 states. One, because it's impossible. If you've spent 3 years or more consistently in every single 50 states, you got to be about 200 years old. At the minimum, you got to be 150. So, like, we have to start using something called common sense. You cannot just group all Black women into this category of, well, all Black women are like this. All Black women don't respect men. All Black women, they just want to fight and be the man of the house. It's not true at all. I was married to a Black American woman. My wife was a Black American woman. She didn't have any of those issues. She was highly educated. She had a doctoral degree in social work. She was a licensed clinical social work. She had all of these degrees. She's a published author. Even to this day, she still have books that are being sold. And at the end of the day, she was not some combative woman that's yelling, arguing, fussing, fighting. We had civil conversations. We would talk. We would bring things to the table. And what I'm starting to see and think I'm starting to understand is people are not using their preference. Everyone has a preference. And what I mean by preference is, what do you prefer in a partner? You cannot force someone to be your preference. If people don't automatically fit into those categories or want to fit and be in those categories, you do not have the right to force them. That is forcing your will on someone else. That is abuse. I know people gonna be like, oh, that's not abusive. I'm just trying to be traditional, bring it back to the Bible. Well, the Bible says it's okay to beat your slave. And even if you beat that slave half to death, it is okay if that slave was disorderly. So let's not cherry pick parts of the Bible, cherry pick parts of Christianity. Let's start acting like modern people in the year 2024. The year 2024, we have to quit acting like this is the 1950s and 60s. Most people do not make enough money for one person to be the head of household working and the other person staying at home. That's just the reality. I know it sucks. It's something that ain't the best thing. I don't think that's something that's good for families. However, with the rising cost of inflation, rent, just regular living expenses, especially if you're in the United States of America, which is one of the most overpriced countries just for quality of life, which is ridiculous and one of the reasons why I will never go back there. It's just not feasible. So to sit and expect women to still be acting like it's the 1940s, 50s, and 60s is delusional. It is literally crazy. And let's be honest. How many of you out there, or you tell me, do you really want a woman that doesn't work? Do you prefer your woman to be sitting at home, cooking and cleaning every day? Do you want that traditional, what we're called traditional, from the 50s and 60s? And if you just say yes, are you willing to hand her over your check every time you get paid? Not give her money, hand her over your check. I can already see you saying no. And see, that's the thing. We want to use and just like look at one side of how some things were in history and be like, oh, it was better. Oh, they were doing this. It sucked. As a guy nowadays, you working hard, you do not want to hand your money over to anybody. However, that's what tradition was back then. You were the head of the household because you were the breadwinner, but the wife took care of the finances. The wife gave you your money that you needed to budget with for the to the next pay period. That was her job to keep the house in line. And if you're not willing to do those things, don't try to force something on a woman, especially black women out here, and then be like, oh, you're not doing this. You're a horrible woman. Like somebody in one of the comments like, oh, you're just simping. No, I love black women. Now, when I say I love black women, that doesn't mean I love every black woman. I don't like women who go out and club. I don't like women who go drinking. I don't like women who are belligerent. I don't like women who are just cursing like a man. I don't like those things. My personal life is a very conservative personal life. I don't like women who are just scantily dressed everywhere. That is my preference. My preference. And so because I understand my preference, guess what? I don't go to places to where my preference usually does not be. And this is where I'm challenging you as a guy. Where are you going to look for women? If you're going to nightclubs, you're not going to find your wife. I don't care how many days you go in a row. I don't care if you go for the next 10, 15, 20 years. You're not going to find that person. They're not in a nightclub. It's like when women be telling me here sometimes on the continent of Africa, oh, there's no more good men. There's no good man out here. I'm like, where do you go? Good men and good women go to good places. Anybody who's responsible, especially once you reach a certain age or you reach a certain level of status and success, you're not out here in these nightclubs. You're not doing what these pro athletes are doing, throwing money away in the strip club. That is not what you do. Stop letting the media, social media for sure, tell you this is what people are doing. Like some people need to go back and, especially a lot of guys, go back and listen to some of the things that Chad Ochocinco says, Chad Johnson. He talks about how he played the image, but that's not who he really was. All of those big chains he was wearing, he told you it was fake. All of the cars he was just driving in, he was like, he rented them. All of those things was an image he was putting out. Like, quit getting caught up in the image and start really understanding who people are. The most successful people in this world are the people who are not seen. And when you start meeting these people, who really built themselves and dug themselves up from the bottom and got success, they're some of the most humble, loving people in the world. They're not out here tossing money. I met a lot of guys in Medellin, Colombia, very successful black men. They to this day they're my mentors. I text them, check on them. We call each other when it's holidays, and I plan on even going back to Colombia to visit them. They're great black men, great role models. And guess what? They're not out here doing crazy stuff. And they have a lot of money since they're even more money since their money multiplied once they moved out of the country. And they're still living as a certain humble and loving way. And so, like, you have to start asking yourself, how are you living your life? What are the things you're going to? Like when I was in South Africa, staying there for a year, people was always telling me, "Oh, be careful of this tribe. Be careful of these women." I met women from all of those different tribes, and they were wonderful women. But guess what? I wasn't meeting them in the club. I wasn't meeting them at grooves. I was going to marketplaces. I was doing daytime events. When you really want to meet good men and women, they're not going out at night like that. And most of the time when they do go out at night, they're probably like me if I get dragged out at night every once in a while. They're not interested in talking to anybody. They don't want to be bothered. They do not want to be bothered. Like the last time when I went out with a buddy of mine in Botswana, I think we went to Park 27 or whatever the name of the place. And we just went and just chilled out, hang out. And then one, I don't like being around a lot of people that drink. Two, then this woman come up and she thinks she's trying to flirt, being disrespectful, says something completely out of line. And I just moved and went to another table and sat by myself and was on my phone. I was like, I'm not entertaining this nonsense. And that's how I am. If you do not meet my preference, I do not entertain you. And that's what a lot of you guys need to probably start understanding. If you think if your preference isn't black women for one, that's okay. Nobody cares. Like, and what I mean by nobody cares is who you choose to be with at the end of the day is your business. However, you do not have the right to bash and group black women as if they're the problem. Oh, they're not submissive. Because guess what? Talk to any guy from the military. They'll probably tell you they know somebody that married a Filipino from the Philippines, not some Filipino American, a Filipino from the Philippines. And guess what? They took them for all their money. They're not submissive. They bossed them around. They probably married someone from South Korea, and guess what? They bossed them around. They're not submissive. They took them for all their money. I met guys in Colombia, women took them for all their money, bossed them around. Like, it's not a black thing. And I'm being serious right now. Like, stop thinking it is just black women. This is a mindset. Everywhere in the world has social media now. If you're able to fly to a country, they have the internet. And also this nonsense where, and it's an American culture thing. A lot of Americans, I believe, they believe the rest of the world is poor. America's this great country. Like when I was doing a live on TikTok one day, people was like, "Oh, there's not even paved roads in Africa. I know it. I've heard from people that live there. They told me there's no paved roads." I literally walked them up and down my street, showed them some of the little mini mansions, and showed them the paved roads, the really nice cars. We got to stop this nonsense. The things that people, the media, especially news media, are telling us about other countries, you don't know if it's true or not. And this whole thing of like, oh, well, these women are submissive. That doesn't mean every woman. You don't know what her cultural background is. You don't know what her religion is. You don't know what her tribal background is. Once you get out of the United States, it's not just black and white. There's different tribes. I believe here in Zambia, there's over 70 tribes or at least 70 languages. Any of my Zambian brothers and sisters, please correct me in the comments. And really think about that. 70 different, potentially 70 tribes. South Africa, I swear every day in Joburg, I would meet a new tribe while I was there for a year. Botswana, there's different tribes all over the place, different languages. Like, it's not black and white. And once you leave the United States, everybody is not the same. So, like, I really hope this help you. Like, I get it. Like, a lot of people want to find love. A lot of people want to be loved. But if you're in a place of where you're angry, you may need to work on loving yourself first. Work through some of that trauma. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I know a lot of men don't want to hear this. Some of your first trauma may be coming from a woman figure that was in your life. You can either work on uncovering the roots of it or just work on saying, this is who I want to be. But one of the best ways to do that is start working on your preference. Understand your preference. And I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. Submissive, loyal, trustworthy, respectful, those words mean nothing. Respect here in on the continent of Africa is not the same as respect in America. Like if you're in Texas, it's not respectful, it's disrespectful to stare at people. Here, people stare at you. Like they have no problem with it. So quit thinking these words are just these global words that mean the same thing everywhere. They don't. Start really breaking down your preference. How do you want a woman to treat you? How do you want to be able to treat her? How do you want to start your day every morning? Do you want someone that you can pray with? Do you want someone that's into family dinners? Those are the things that you need to start looking at. The core values of a person. The color of the skin does not make a person their core value. Their religion does not make their core value. There's a lot of Christians I know in the world, and they're some of the most crooked people I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just being serious with you. And here's just a little caveat to that. One of the things that helped me become a better husband while I was married, I started getting counseling from some Jewish guys. They were teaching me from the Torah of this is what it means to be the man of your house. This is what it means to run your household as a man. Maybe you need to go and seek outside counsel. That is okay. Like, do what you need to do to understand how you can become the person that you want to become. Because if you believe that who you are today, someone has to accept you, you're going to keep finding a lot of heartbreak and misery. To get the person that is attracted to you, you must become the person that attracts them. And so I just hope that helped you. And if you're someone who is married, who has a successful relationship, a successful marriage, and you're a happy marriage, please leave information below in the comments. Let these brothers and sisters understand what it really takes. And this goes for men and women out there. We need to start explaining to people what it really means to be married. There's too many people out here giving relationship advice, and they don't even have a successful relationship. They're not even messing with women who are the caliber of what they're like. This is what a man's supposed to go for. And we need to start really teaching and exchanging wisdom with one another. Now, I know some people out there are going to get mad at this video also. Get mad, guys. Eventually that anger will let go, and then you'll start seeing maybe there's some wisdom in what he's saying. But for my people that's out there that are in a successful marriage, that are in a successful relationship, please leave comments down below and just help people see, like, how did you get your relationship successful? Too many of us have this fairy tale dream of, oh, I'm going to get married and life is going to be perfect. Marriage is hell if you don't work on it. And I'm just going to end it at that. And just remember this, guys. I'm Jason, and success is simple once you know how.